Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and other shows of the like have changed the TV show landscape. It paved the way for shows in the mainstream to be more experimental, mature, and even darker in tone at times. That's not to say everything is allowed to be included, but this overall direction is positive. This show is one of the benefactors of the growing trend. Darker and even scarier ideas are front and center with an interesting twist on fairy tale tropes that I want to talk about. I'm going to be exploring the boiling aisles and dodging the acid rain to figure out just what exactly makes this show appeal to a wide variety of people with The Owl House, Season 1. I love how a major aspect of this show is to break fairy tale convention at every chance it gets, dissing the chosen one narrative, prioritizing hard work over being granted immense power for free, and succeeding in making this magical world feel grounded. People are layered, and don't always do things for one singular goal. The progression of the characters in particular was really nice for a series that for the most part is episodic. Each character takes their time at a steady pace, growing as the episodes go on in subtle ways. King becomes more caring for the other characters, and becomes more self-aware of himself. Ida starts to also care for other people more, from her interactions with Luz, and starts to take her role as a teacher more seriously. Most of the characters introduced have interesting ways of improving, and any who don't aren't around very often. But the best part of this show by far was the humor it had. The way they treat Hoot, the Owl House familiar, is really funny and sad at the same time. He just wants people to pay attention to him, and have some friends, but he's constantly played for laughs but in a pretty effective way, like how nobody listens to his stories, or how ridiculous his voice is. All of it just makes the deprecation humor work. A story with the looks and intensity of a cartoon, aimed at children, except it has enough maturity and depth to appeal to an older audience at the same time. Even though there are fun moments with kids learning magic, it's mixed with horror-like moments to create a unique experience. Normally horror and true-to-form kid-friendly content don't mix, but The Owl House makes it work. One of my favorite episodes personally was episode 7, Lost in Language, where Luz causes trouble with Amity'S older siblings in a library with books coming to life. Normally with stories involving troublemaking older kids, it makes them overly cruel, causing lots of destruction, not caring about anyone to a sociopathic level, and doing very heinous acts that make them near unredeemable. But like usual, The Owl House doesn't go with convention, and instead makes Amity'S older siblings more realistic. They do show that in a weird older sibling kind of way. They probably do care about her to some degree, but they constantly bully her, and cause her to be super depressed all the time without a good reason for their actions. At first, Liz thinks they're fun and hopes that befriending them will get her closer to Amity, but all it does is alienate her. A mark of good writing is creating a multi-layered character within just a few scenes, but not slowing down the plot just to convey it. Up until this point in the story, Amity's been shown as a one-note classmate antagonist that only wants to be the best. But with this episode, we see the other sides of her character. She wants to join the Emperor's Covenant because she wants to prove to everyone, including herself, that she is worth something. Failure creates lots of self-doubt for her, and just the thought of it gets in her head. One thing fantasy stories as a whole are great at is having a world full of interesting stuff, but The Owl House doesn't utilize a generic fantasy setting, but one that does what it can to be unique. Instead of a giant world to explore, it's the Boiling Isles. People who live among monsters, witches, and other creatures inside the carcass of a dead titan. An oppressive ruler that forces each witch to conform to one type of magic, instead of using any kind they want. Only the Emperor's Coven is allowed to use whatever magic they want, and Ida is an outlier, running away from all covens because she refuses to be chained down. The political structure of the Witch Society reminded me a lot of the Divergent series, but a lot better written and constructed. The way each person is forced to give up their wide range of magic when joining a coven is so interesting, especially when society itself has glorified it. It's seen as a good thing to have this kind of belonging, to become a set type of person, to follow a road laid out by those above you. Cultures have a major effect on the ability for a government to control its citizens, with an iron fist, and this show does a fantastic job at showing that. Another aspect that really works here is the variety. Every single episode shows off something new from the Boiling Isles. Overall, when it comes to the writing, I think the comedy and characters were really good. The type of comedy was vast, and didn't linger on anything for too long, and every character had a solid amount of depth. However, the episodic nature of the show does hold it back a bit for me, just like with Steven Universe. While the main plot had compelling elements, the amount of filler-like elements did retract from the experience. For example, if you skip episodes aside from the first and last couple episodes, you will get most of the story. Of course, the reason this was done is because the show is running on network television, and is designed to have enjoyable elements for all watchers, regardless of how much you know about the story. The episodic nature of the show doesn't ruin it, but for me personally, I would have preferred a more structured story, with less freeform elements added in. The ending for the story was definitely a highlight though. Liz's progress into becoming a full-fledged human witch, and now becoming a teacher, to Ida was a really nice plot development, using her skills and training training. She's able to harness old age magic very effectively, even though it isn't as efficient. One thing I'm left with after the season ended was, what is the Titans' plan? The Emperor wanted Ida's door to Liz's world, but he claims he doesn't want to invade and take over. What else could he possibly want with the other world if he doesn't want to take over? So many questions that I'm excited to see answered in hopefully season 2. What did you think of season 1 for the Owl House? Did you like it? Were you a fan of the episodic format, or did you want a bit more structure? Let me know in the comments below. I plan to cover season 2 at least one time, so subscribe so you can check out that video when it comes out. I hope to see you next time.